Yo tengo el pelo blanco, pero no miento.
Hi
Que
everybody,
quede
it's
claro.
Alex here. I just wanted to come on here and thank you so much for all the support.
There was a moment of realization where I thought, oh, ang galing ko pala mag-isip. And
also at one point in the match.
12 words that broke Spanish TV. The revolution of Alex, no one anticipated it. The loudest there is no sound in the world that is a scream. If the noise of a stadium that is completely packed out isn't point of match. Furthermore, it isn't the cacophonous sound of a television studio viewers. No, the most audible noise in the world is quiet. In particular, the stillness that ensues after an error that everybody in the room is aware that it can never be retracted. We're used to loudness in tennis. Used to hearing the grunt of the sound of trainers screeching on hard courts, the monotonous voice of the umpire, and the media's ceaseless round of discussion about enthusiasm and disapproval. However, what really occurred Madrid this week was something distinct. It wasn't a game of tennis. It wasn't a rally. A bloodbath occurred. And not one ball was struck. Welcome back. Welcome to Champions Tennis, where you can find the most intense, genuine, and unadulterated tales from the journey. We aren't today discussing backhands or forehands. We are discussing dignity. We're discussing the instance in which the Filipino Alex Eala, a phenomenon, entered the Lion's Spanish television's den, fought up against a satirical mythology, and with only 12 words caused a whole network to collapse. If Alex Eala seems familiar to you, the peaceful, diligent Rafa graduate Nadal Academy, you should reconsider. Due to the fact that the female who left the Philippines to pursue a dream is no longer available. And she is replaced by a lady who just taught the media in Europe a lesson they will never, ever forget. What precisely did say something to agitate her? Elrond, Wyoming. Why were the producers attempting to reduce the feed? Additionally, which 12 terms had the whole tennis community screaming for respect? Hold on tight. This is the tale of the serene the world was startled. To comprehend the gravity of this situation, you must recognize the environment. Music. This wasn't a courteous post-game interview on court with a kind demeanor inquiring about percentages of ball tosses. It was El Intermediary. For those of you who are not, El Intermedia is a giant in Spain. Music. El hosts the comedic news program. A guy named Grand Wyoming is a national establishment in Spain. He is astute, he is very quick-witted, cynical, and he earns a livelihood by creating uneasy. His visitors often perform along. His quips make them laugh. They accept being roasted, and they make an effort to endure the part. Alex Eala was welcomed to what was meant to be a festive section. Just off her amazing performance in the Abu Dhabi when she opened in early 2026, she displayed a degree of grit that let everyone realize why she graduated from the Nadal Academy. Is the most popular subject in Asian tennis. She's becoming well-known. She's garnering media attention, and the Spanish media, of course, which observes as a daughter who was adopted because of her Mallorca training, wants a piece of her. However, as soon as she stepped aboard, it caused the atmosphere to change. References inside the studio explain the atmosphere as patronizing. There was an air for which Eala ought to be thankful simply to be present. Wyoming engaging in the grumpy, skeptical character, the veteran didn't begin with congratulations. He began by making jabs. He made light of the excitement surrounding tennis in Asia. He made a few jokes about her size in relation to the European strongmen such as Rybakina or Sabalenka. She didn't flinch, Alex. She grinned, saying courteous grin that was schooled by the media. She responded in flawless Spanish, which is evidence during her Mallorca years. She performed the game. Wyoming, however, desired a response. He desired the drama. He wished to determine if the pleasant academy girl had a breaking point. He exerted more force. He stopped her responses. He looked aside from her to speak to the crowd while she continued to talk. It was timeless. Bullying techniques that are passed off as humor. Then he went too far. It arrived unexpectedly. They were talking about her recent training setback and her choice got to forego a little clay tournament in Europe in order to concentrate on hard courts. A tactical her team's choice. Wyoming stooped to examine his spectacles, He had a sneer on his face. The studio there were dazzling lights. The viewers were awaiting the punchline, tittering. Alex, let's be honest, he added, his mock-sympathetic tone of voice. You are the Academy's creation. You're Asia's marketing dream. However, when the Nadal name appears when the camera shuts off, isn't keeping you safe, are you sure? Do you think you'll be able to survive here? Or are you only a courteous visitor in a sport that is ours? The viewers gasped. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't satire. It was an outright assault on her validity. It was offensive that disregarded each and every sweat drop, each as well as each hour she had spent hammering on the Majorca courts, far in the Philippines, apart from her relatives. It suggested that she was a traveler, a phony, advertising a product. 99 out of 100 situations, a young athlete in that breaks down. They may chuckle uneasily to ease the strain. They might receive furious and falter in a defense. They may with their PR representative off camera for assist. None of the actions were taken by Alex Eala. The response came instantly. Not from but from the chamber, Eala. The air exited the studio. The audience's laughter ceased. The co-hosts from Wyoming even cast a glance down at their documents, uneasy. They were aware he had overreached himself. Alexa took a seat. She remained in her chair. She didn't sip on some water. She avoided looking at her agent. She gazed straight into the eyes of El Grande, Wyoming. For 5 painful there was complete quiet for a few seconds. On 5 seconds on live TV seems like 5 hours. The grin on Wyoming's face faded. He moved in his seat. He unlocked his mouth to crack a joke again to fill the dead air in order to save time. However, before Alex leaned so he could make a sound. Just 1 inch ahead. The motion was so subdued yet so powerful that the camera operator instantly zoomed in. She said softly. It wasn't the enthusiastic, high-pitched voice of a junior participant. It was a veteran's voice. Someone's voice after looking down points in a match against the top-ranked the world. She spoke 12 words. 12 chilly, precise phrases that pierced like a sharp blade in the studio. I don't need your cheers. I simply play for myself. Nation. That was it. She didn't yell. She didn't curse at him. She didn't describe her titles or rankings. She just dismissed his whole idea. Yes, I don't need your praise. A denial of his popularity, his program, and his endorsement. I play just for my nation. A statement of identity, commitment, and purpose that he was never able to touch. She reclined. Her hands were crossed on her lap, and she gazed at him. The studio stopped. Wyoming, who's always had a return. The individual who lives to possess the had nothing to say. His oral cavity first opened, then shut. He examined the teleprompter, but it was ineffective. There to save him. The dynamic of power had changed so drastically that you could feel the flinching sensation via the TV screen. He stumbled. He attempted to laugh. Well, obviously there is passion. He muttered, glancing seeking away. Alex remained expressionless. She didn't give a nod. She just maintained eye contact. She allowed him to sit in his uneasiness. Produced. She let the quiet to linger, torturing him once again with his own discomfort. The section came to a sudden conclusion. After 30 seconds, the creators cut to a commercial pause, a frantic, unforeseen change that astounded the audience. The video was on Twitter in a matter of minutes. Reddit followed by TikTok. Champions Tennisitics has been keeping an eye on the response on social media, and it is complete fire. The hashtag respect started to gain popularity in the Philippines within the hour. When the sun finally rose, it was popular across Europe, including Spain. Tennis enthusiasts who often argue over anything from Q to GOAT arguments, the calls were unified. One of the best remarks on El Grande, Wyoming was previously read on Twitter. Attempted to handle her like a kid and received as if he were a ball boy. Eala simply today I progressed to the major leagues. Another admirer said that the quiet was greater than a Shapovalov grant. That's Rafael Nadal. That's Academy mental toughness. No just execution, not feeling. Even the Spanish press, often defending their own turn on the host, TV stars. Mara conducted an internet headline posing the question, "Did Elda's Intermedia overreact to Eala?" The comment section's response was a absolutely. Why did this particular time resonate so strongly? For what reason are we creating a 12-word video? Since this is about more than a nasty television presenter. This relates to the story that has watched Alex Eala throughout her career. Let's examine the information. Alex Eala isn't a marketing item. She grinds. This girl moved out of her house living in the Philippines as a young adolescent at a Mallorca dormitory. She discovered a new language. She adjusted to a different culture. She received instruction from the harsh taking on the hefty spin, the Spanish Sun Armada physical style in Spain with her unique flat-hitting style forceful flair. This was seen in 2025 at the US Open. Do you recall the controversy? She was seen mouthing an ardent term during a heated argument in Tagalog. The media's pearl clutchers attempted to turn it into a controversy. They attempted to say she was becoming agitated. However, her admirers, Filipinos who wake up in their millions to watch her matches at 3 in the morning, was aware of the reality. There was no loss of calmness. Fire was that. That was the spirit of a warrior is emerging. And we witnessed it. Once again in Abu Dhabi a few weeks ago in Sasnovich vs 2026 in the third set. Eala remained calm. She got right in. She played a bad game. She gave it her all while playing. Additionally, she won. She advanced to the semifinals of a WTA 500 competition, demonstrating that her ranking is becoming more adept at her craft. Thus, when the TV anchor takes a seat on a comfortable chair and doubts her credibility, he's not simply by disparaging her, he is disparaging the procedure. The thousands are being insulted by him. Countless hours of invisible labor. Eala's reaction was ideal as it didn't interact with the insult at the level of the insulter. Her tennis was not defended. She didn't enumerate her achievements. Junior Grand Slam WE champion, many ITF championships triumphs. She raised the dialogue. I simply play for myself. Nation. It returns attention to what matters. The 115 million individuals she symbolizes each time she walks on the court. Everyone is reminded that she has a flag that is not often seen in the latter phases of tennis competitions. She is a trailblazer, and trailblazers lack its time for offensive jokes. We must speak about the Rafa element in this case. Rafa is someone we know. She is mentored by Nadal. We are aware that she calls the GOAT and that he's taken a personal interest in her growth. Typically, while discussing the Nadal impact, we discuss the lefties in front of you. We discuss the footwork. We discuss the spirit of perseverance. However, what Alex Eala's performance on Spanish television was the other side of Nadal. The lesson, the honor. Consider it. How often have we seen Rafa being questioned or insulted? By the press? They inquired as to whether he was about to retire. When they asked, Rafa never broke his knees. He never became petty. He would just lift and raise an eyebrow, offer a courteous, heartbreaking rational response, after which you walk out and destroy everyone on clay. Alex Eala just Arafa was withdrawn. She suppressed the feeling. Control the situation. She had command of the controllables. The 12 words were a master lesson in tactics. She struck gold. Eventually, Wyoming was left behind, looking silly when standing at the net. Now, for those of you who are keeping up with the carefully following the plot, the time of this could hardly be more important. We've breaking information about Eala's schedule after this TV catastrophe. There were some of the same people originated the rumors. Negative media sources that Eala may skip her next exhibition match. Because of the media frenzy in Madrid. They believed she would disappear. They considering the strain of the infectious moment would be excessive. Not true. We've simply found evidence that Alex Eala was seen on Madrid's practice courts this morning, a few hours after the broadcast. And you know what? She wasn't concealing anything. She was slamming balls. At the practice site, witnesses claim she seems really concentrated. No grins, no just doing business, waving to the cameras. The kicker is right here. Her group has announced that she would participate in the draw and the challenger event have just come on out. Her opponent in the first round, the Spanish wild card. You just can't compose a better script than this one. that the universe has prepared Alexa to allow her racket to complete the remaining speaking. The sales of her first, according to reports, round matches have quadrupled in the last 12 hours. Everyone is eager to watch. El Grand Wyoming was hushed by the girl. I'm afraid if I'm her opponent. Now because you don't want to win. Alex Eala is in this state, play her. When she has, you don't want to play her. Anything to demonstrate. The consequences of this event goes far beyond just one embarrassing appearance on TV. What we are seeing is a profound change in the dynamics of power in tennis media. For decades, youthful athletes, particularly those from countries that don't often play tennis, had been anticipated to nod, grin, and accept whatever therapy they get. Away from the gatekeepers of the European media. The unwritten rule was easy. Show gratitude. For the publicity. Avoid upsetting anybody, and perhaps, just possibly, you'll be admitted to the club. Alex Eala. Just that rulebook was reduced to ashes. The global tennis community has been observing this development with a blend of astonishment and awe. Former athletes have begun to comment on social media. A tweet by Martina Navratilova, basic flame emoji, which is followed by the phrases, "New rules, new generation." Billy said, "Respect is earned, not given." Never one to back down. Jean King, concerns about equality and respect in tennis, shared a more in-depth analysis of the significance of sportsmen taking a stand for both themselves and their nations, making comparisons to her own struggles against the contemptuous remarks made throughout her profession. However, it's the present players they are really creating noise. Goff, Coco, constantly vocal about how the media treats of young athletes, distributed the video to "This is what composure is all about." Appears. This is how strength appears. Such as Iga Swiatek, who is well known for her careful handling of media relations, conducted a thorough but incisive interview. When she said that athletes from smaller tennis-playing countries sometimes confront a distinct level of inspection and are often asked to demonstrate their abilities in methods by which players from conventional powerhouses never are. The Filipino, as expected, the tennis community has going completely crazy. The Sports Commission issued a statement, applauding Eala's poise under duress and reiterating their support for her growth as a sportsperson and an ambassador for the nation. The streets of Manila burst into joy, rather than due to the fact that she won a competition, but because she received what was likely more respect. Is crucial. The Nadal Academy's part in fostering this degree of mental, it is impossible to exaggerate, fortitude. The Academy is well known for creating athletes with outstanding technical abilities and physical fitness. The mental training is just as demanding. Players learn how to deal with pressure, to remain calm, to never allow adversaries or outside factors determine how they feel. They are instructed in the Nadal way of thinking. What you can manage. Give up all other things. And never, ever give up your rivals. The joy of Alex Eala just gave you a shake. The Globe, an example of excellence in that philosophy. It's interesting to note that the event has also provoked a more extensive discussion about the function of satire and humor in media for sports. Wyoming has established his career focused on pushing limits and creating guests uneasy, on using comedy to reveal hypocrisy or undermine egos. When performed well, this kind of humor may be valuable. It may include influential individuals. Responsible, able to refute presumptions, may compel viewers to exercise critical thought. However, when executed incorrectly, when aimed toward the incorrect targets, it turns into bullying, masquerading as amusement. There is a distinction between saturating the strong and making fun of the weak. That border was passed by Wyoming, and Alex Eala is not a politician whose policies don't criticize. She is not a famous person who has been caught in a controversy. She is a young athlete who has put forth a great deal of effort to attain the working at a professional level, is among the most competitive sports across the globe. Symbolizes a nation with little tennis infrastructure, a lack of funds, and restricted presence on the international stage. Doubting her credibility, implying that she is only successful due to advertising or affiliation with Nadal, is just cruel. That is not parody. Wyoming learned about it in the most noticeable manner conceivable, which indicates poor performance. When your intended victim declines to become victim. The business ramifications of this moments are starting to become apparent. Eala's the following on social media has skyrocketed, more than 500,000 new followers on various networks in only 3 these days. Brands are paying attention. Several sportswear manufacturers have contacted her management group about endorsement agreements for energy drinks businesses, equipment producers, and even non-endemic companies trying to get lined up to enter the Asian market. Irony tastes good. Wyoming's effort to minimize her as a product marketing tool has actually made her more marketable. Dramatically. It seems that advocating for you and your nation with dignity and strength is really beneficial for company, but maybe the most there will have a big influence on the next generation of athletes. Worldwide, particularly those from countries that don't often play tennis, are observing this time and discovering an important lesson. You do not have to put up with rudeness. When someone tries, play along and grin. To devalue you, you can defend yourself. You have the ability to establish limits. May demand the respect you deserve. Additionally, if you use the appropriate mix of conviction and poise, the whole world will support you. The tennis calendar is rapidly approaching. Sufficient, this tale will disappear from the news reports. There will be fresh competitions, fresh disputes, and new viral events. But Alex's influence, Eala's 12 words, will be far more extensive than she has reshaped the news cycle. Herself in the eyes of the people is no longer just the bright future. She is a powerhouse from the Nadal Academy. She is a person who refuses to be pressured, surrounded, disregarded, or handled as anything other than a completely authentic, utterly worthy professional athlete. This event represents a sea change. Or seeing a change. For years, the bright junior was Alex. She was the adorable tale. That time period is over. The 2026 Alex Eala is a murderer. Professional who is aware of her value. An international figure who recognizes the power of her voice and her strength being silent. By confronting a bully she won more than simply a verbal contest on live TV. Sparring bout, and she insisted on being respected for each and every Asian athlete who has been ignored, undervalued, or handled similar to a novelty act in Western-dominated the tennis world. She attracted a queue to Elrond, Wyoming, on the sand. Express gratitude for the invitation. You believed a sound bite was what you were going to receive. You had a revolution. You believed that you were going to make people chuckle. You learned your lesson. And we tell Alexa, go forth, that there will always be noise. The detractors never goes away, yet as long as you continue using that icy cold to handle them. Restraint, the world will need to regardless of their desire to listen. This is the kind of narrative that characterizes a career. The prize isn't a grand slam. Yet this is a time of championship, and champions is the game of life. Tennisitics, and we'll keep on monitor each step of Alex Eala's voyage, since this tale is far distant from over. The young woman who kept a country silent 12 words is just the beginning. The tennis community has to be prepared because Alexa has finished requesting permission to belong. She is stealing what is rightfully hers. One phrase, one match, and one unwavering gaze at a time. I'm curious about what you was El Grande Wyoming acting inappropriately? Or is this just a piece of Spanish humor? Was Alex Eala's 12 lost in translation? Words are too difficult? Or was it just right? Reaction? And most all, do you believe that this new mindset will help her reach the top 20 this year? Please let me know in the comments section below. Highlighting the top answers, particularly those viewers from the Philippines who have been riding beside Alex from the beginning. If you found this deep dive enjoyable. With Alex, and if you're serious about uncensored and fearless tennis news to expose the absurdity, you know what to do. Press the like button. Just like Alex Smash is the champion of the forehand, sign up for Champions Tennis to ensure that you don't miss a beat. Then press that alert button. Because there is still more to this narrative. And we will be right here, going over each and every update. Stay calm till the next time. Up, maintain a loud quiet, and maintain observing the winners. Tennisitics last goodbye.